because of your own experiences or just your thoughts on the matter, whether you think this shift in the law, this change in the law, really will or would protect you from an abusive partner or an abusive man in a sexual encounter. Whether you think these measures are enough. Now, I'll go through some of them in a moment with Harriet Wistrich, Director of the Centre for Women's Justice, and later in the hour I'll talk to our own political editor, Natasha Clark, who's been speaking to the Justice Minister, Alex Chalk. Here's briefly a little of what he said to her when he spoke to her. There's a woman called Emily Hunt that he refers to in the clip you're about to hear. She's the Ministry of Justice's independent advisor in its rape review.
We've decided to change the law so that those who kill their partners through abusive, dangerous or degrading sexual behaviour can expect tougher sentences than ever before, because we want the message to go out that those who literally take their partner's life into their own hands for sexual gratification, they can expect to go to prison for longer if it all goes wrong. Emily was really great. She made an enormous contribution, and I think it's worth noting that compared to 2010, we've now got to a situation where more people are being prosecuted for rape than in 2010. The conviction rate is higher. The sentences are longer, around a third longer than in 2010, and offenders are spending a higher proportion of those longer sentences in custody. So look, there has been a very significant turnaround since 2019, but of course we want to go further. So the new rape advisor has got impeccable, really excellent credentials, not least that she led the largest ever survey of sexual assault victims, and Operation Satyria, really contributed to Operation Satyria. So she's going to make a massive difference as we move forward and achieve our further ambitions in this incredibly important space.
We'll hear more from Alex Chalk when we hear from Natasha Clark a little later this hour. Harriet Wistrich joins me, Director of the Centre for Women's Justice. Good afternoon to you, Harriet.
Good afternoon.
Were you concerned about the turn of phrase, if it all goes wrong, in that clip? I'm not sure I just kind of thought, well, it's not about, whoopsie, it went wrong, is it? It's about choosing to endanger a woman's life, and if it ends in death, then you've killed her.
Yes, and we've seen a number of cases where men have killed women on their say-so. They say that there was a consensual, dangerous sexual act that went wrong. I can give you some examples if you like. In one case, that of Sam Pybus, he claimed that his partner enjoyed being strangled for her erotic pleasure. That's what he said. The Court of Appeal seemed to have accepted that explanation, and it just went wrong, even though he kind of continued strangling her for a long time, and she died. And he was given a sentence of 4 years and 8 months for her manslaughter. Of course, she wasn't there to give evidence, and his explanation was accepted. But essentially, there are a kind of range of sexual practices. Another case where a woman had received over 78 bruises to her body, a fracture to her eye, and died as a result of an internal hemorrhage or something being stuck up her insides. He received a sentence, this is John Broadhurst, for 3 years, 8 months for the death of Natalie Connolly. Another case where a man held a knife to a woman's head. Apparently this was some sort of erotic game which went wrong, and her throat was slit. These cases, kind of beg a belief, really, and I strain credulity as to really the extent to which there was genuine consent.
And with those three examples in mind, is your judgment that what's gone on there, not in the bedroom, but in the courtroom, what's gone on there is a minimisation of what has happened to the woman simply because it was, well, A, she hasn't got a voice anymore, but simply because it was in an intimate setting?
Well, that seems to be the case. It seems to be sort of accepted that people, freely indulge in this kind of incredibly dangerous practices as though it is, for pleasure. Clearly there are some types of sadomasochistic sex that people do engage in, honestly and pleasurably, but to put that level of risk where you strangle someone until they die, or you hold a knife to their neck and it goes wrong, is just frankly does strain my credulity. I think it strains many, and it also is highly dangerous in itself. It's an obvious and serious danger, and the sentencing for somebody's death in those circumstances seems to be incredibly forgiving of these poor chaps who kind of just slightly slipped and went over the top, and this woman died. And I think that the message this change in the law will send out is that this, do not indulge in these really, really dangerous practices.
But am I right in saying that the rough sex defence has gone out the window now? That's been outlawed, hasn't it? This is about the level of sentencing.
Yeah, I mean, the rough sex defence was, it goes back quite a while, and then it was encoded in the Domestic Abuse Act. This is not just to rough sex to death. Basically, you cannot give consent to a level of harm that reaches the threshold of ABH, actual bodily harm. So the law says that already, and that's encoded in the law. What this relates to is where somebody actually ends up dying as a result. So clearly it breaches the law. The question is the gravity with which that breach is reflected in the sentencing. And this proposal, this piece of legislation, which is intended to increase the level of sentencing to mark the gravity of that kind of crime, it is welcome, because essentially it's an incredibly gendered crime. We don't hear about it the other way around. It is a reflection of a rather sick part of a misogynistic culture that you can treat somebody in this way.
And also, there's a deterrent. Well, you would hope there would be a deterrent element to a longer sentencing, as in not necessarily just a deterrent for the perpetrator involved, but for people watching how much people are getting, how long people are getting sent to prison for this kind of thing. Because there was a recent report out on young people. In fact, it was the Children's Commissioner's, she's halfway through it now, reports back, I think, next month, consultation on young people, what they want, what they think, what they feel, what they're hearing, what they're not hearing, that kind of thing. And one of the things that came across was that so many young people, teenagers, don't realise that rape can happen, don't think that rape can happen within a relationship or a marriage. Now, that's worrying about what the hell we're telling our young people, but something like this, I mean, that's the beginning of some of these cases, isn't it? That misunderstanding of what your rights are, essentially, and what's good and not good for you.
I think that's absolutely right, and I think that there is not just in terms of rape, whether you're consenting to sex or not, but also I think there's a growing pressure on, we hear, and certainly there are surveys that are producing results that suggest that young people are expecting that a normal part of a consensual sexual relationship can include strangulation and other forms of really degrading treatment, and I think this then translates into pressure to agree to it, because otherwise you're seen as a bit of a prude. And so it's incredibly worrying. Not only that young women are being pressurised into having consent to having sex, but also consenting to actual really degrading and violent acts that can be dangerous.
And in your experience supporting women through many different permutations of abusive relationships, do most of the more severe abusive relationships, physically abusive relationships, typically also include sexual violence, or is that not a correlation that's been made?
Yes, I think many abusive relationships do very much includes sexual violence, whether it's sort of acknowledged on the surface or not. It's just a part and parcel of the certainly in the sort of cases I've seen. I mean, the other thing about there's another element of strangulation, as well as it's seen as part of a sexual act, which is that it's also used by the coercive controllers to send a warning to women. So we find in many cases where there is a history of domestic abuse, that strangulation is used as a threat, so that it isn't necessarily a control mechanism, exactly.
As you say, sending a message.
Yeah. And you know, that for that reason we advocated very strongly for the introduction of a new offence of non-fatal strangulation to identify that as a separate and dangerous act, and that was passed through the Domestic Abuse Act a couple of years ago.
Thank you very much, Harriet. Always good to talk to you. Harriet Wistridge, Director of the Centre for Women's Justice. I know these are difficult topics and difficult questions to ask and things to look at, but so many people are living with them, so many women are living with this. I get that it's difficult to talk about your own experiences oftentimes, and I get that you might not want to leave your real name if you choose to have a conversation with me, but I would very much welcome a conversation with you if you have been in an abusive relationship where strangulation, other forms of control have been used, things that could leave you dead, basically. Because I think when we hear domestic abuse, we still have a lot of people. I think still have quite sort of a limited picture of what it can involve, unless you've experienced it close up or investigated it, as I have as a journalist, or known somebody who's been on the receiving end of that behaviour. To what degree did that kind of physical threat play a part in your abusive relationship that you were in, perhaps still are in? I know that might be difficult for you to call. And do you think that extending sentences, prison sentences, for people who not just kill, men not just kill in sexual violence inside a relationship, but seriously harm with violence and sexual violence inside a relationship, do you think these extended sentences, longer sentences, will protect you from that, and will maybe send messages to those teenagers who don't realise that they can be raped inside a relationship? I mean, that's a worrying finding, isn't it, in that report? And we'll talk to the Children's Commissioner in March, by the way, when her full report comes out. 0345 6060 973. Will this change in the law make a difference? 84850, the number to text, and you can message me on X at LBC. It's 2:17.
This is LBC.
There are lots of ways to make your home warmer and more energy efficient, but you don't have to do it on your own. You could receive £7,500 to help you upgrade to a heat pump with a government grant. Heat pumps are 3 times more efficient than a traditional boiler and can reduce your household carbon emissions by up to 70%. So everybody wins. To find out more, as well as other ways the government can support you, visit gov.uk/energy efficient home.
Honey, we need a new car.
Need? It's a strong word. We don't need a new car. We want a new car.
But Volvo has a new car sale event. We can save up to £9,000 on a range of Volvo cars, including their electric models. We can order online or pop into our local retailer between the 16th and the 25th of February.
We can't just buy a... Wait, did you say £9,000? Honey, we need a new Volvo.
Save up to £9,000 on a range of Volvo cars, all available for quick delivery. Order online or search Volvo new car sale events to book an appointment between the 16th and the 25th of February.
Figure based on XC90 and varies by model. Stock cars only, while stocks last. Excludes EX30 and EX90. Finance provided by Volvo Car Financial Services UK Limited. Terms apply.
At Wren, you can have that dream kitchen with up to 60% off fully built kitchen units and up to 7 years interest-free credit. Plus, in our famous winter sale, get up to 50% off selected quartz worktops. Luxury for all, affordable for all. The Great Renovation. Visit your nearest Wren showroom. Offers apply when you buy 5 or more units. Subject to status and minimum spend. Ends the 21st of Feb.
Every single thing we've learned over 175 years goes into every single day of a Fred Olsen cruise. Because it's not just where you go, it's how you get there. Visit FredOlsonCruises.com for our latest offers.
Hi all.
Hiya.
How are we doing?
Afternoon.
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 Let's get this meeting.
Meeting started.
Where's the tablet gone?
When everyone's home, EE Work Mode prioritizes your broadband for working from home with the UK's fastest major broadband provider. So,
Yeah, I've got you loud and clear as a bell.
this is broadband made for working from home. Search EE Broadband, powered by BT.
Work mode with EE Smart Hub Plus. To verify, see ee.co.uk/claims.
Ever since I've been investing with Vanguard, I find myself going...
For me, it's because they've got over 45 years experience. Love that.
I love the low fees, because I can keep more returns.
And I love that the investment platform's been recommended by Wix 5 years running.
Surely that deserves a...
Join more than 50 million investors around the world who love Vanguard Value. Vanguard, value to investors. When investing, your capital is at risk.
Hold on, step phone service.
Hi, I'm calling about sausage.
Sausage?
Sausage, my dog.
Oh,
Is it normal sausage barks in his sleep?
well,
Is it normal he chases golf balls?
yes, don't worry. Sausage is perfectly normal.
With Betphone's veterinary professionals on hand to help you and your pets 24/7. Search More Than Pet Insurance.
Leading Britain's conversation. Sheila Fogarty. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Just after 2:30, around 2:35, I'll talk to Natasha Clark, LBC's political editor, and get a bit more detail on that conversation she had with the Justice Secretary, Alex Chalk, about the aims, really, of this legislation and new sentencing guidelines on those convicted. You know, you've got to be convicted first for these to matter, haven't you? For people convicted of such crimes as strangling your partner to death in so-called rough sex. The rough sex defence has now been removed, but you do wonder about how jurors will interpret some of this before you even get to the actual conviction or not. Carol has called from Chelmsford. Hello, Carol.
Hello. Yes, my ex-husband now, he would do various non-fatal strangulations to me, and why he did that, because it doesn't leave any marks on you, so you didn't get a black eye, broken nose, cut lip or anything. He would hold the rib cage as tightly as possible, so like take a breath in or out. He was waiting till I breathe out, crush it, and I couldn't breathe, I would black out, but there'd be no marks on me. He would do things around my neck, put a pillow over my face in bed, until I just couldn't move or speak, but there was never any marks on me. Now, I have taken a long time, but I have now reported it to the police, and they recorded it. So that if I did have to go to court, I would have to go in the court. They would take the recording, so it would be beneficial a unit. 2.5 hours I was given statements for, and they said that means you won't have to actually go and face him in court. But then I was told by the domestic violence officer that because the law only came in 2021 to make it a serious criminal offence, they can't take any of it, and it's done to me for years and years.
When did it happen? Sorry, what did they say? They can't prosecute it because of time passed?
No, because the law to make it a serious crime only came in 2021. They recognised non-fatal strangulation application. Before then, it was only if the woman died. But
however, it's still assault, isn't it?
It is, but before that time, it's not. It doesn't carry much weight because of the time factor, and before the law was passed. And I'm devastated because everything he did, and there was all those, I don't want to go into details, it might give people ideas.
Yeah, I understand.
You know, but everything he did didn't leave any markings on me. So what was most physical evidence, there's only one where my shoulder joint is out of alignment, where you could twist my arm up behind my back. That's the only thing, but that's just a misalignment. You can see the bone.
And how long have you been away from him now?
I actually started divorce proceedings in 2017, and I got my decree absolute. We had 5 whole days in court. We had to have points where I was led in first, he was led into a separate way, because it was all known by the police and my medical team and the judge what he was like. But because there was no physical evidence, it's really difficult. But I have now enforced it against the police. But when they said, I don't know how far we can take this because this law only came in 21, I am devastated.
However, though, and Caroline, I'm not giving you legal advice because I'm not qualified to give you legal advice, but there are other ways to prosecute him than the non-fatal strangulation route. What you're also describing just plain old assault, aren't you?
Yeah, but I think the non-strangulation carries a custodial sentence rather than the assault with no physical. I've got, they said, did you not do that? And I said, yes, but did you go to A&E? Have you got any photographs? I've got no physical markings on me.
Just mental ones.
And that was very, very clever. Very, very clever. Everything he did, pillow over my face, all stuff like that. No marks.
And Carol, was this always during sex or just as a means of control?
No. He would be in the kitchen, chopping the salad up. He wasn't having an argument. He wasn't an alcoholic on the drink problem. And he would suddenly creep up behind me when I didn't know, and he would clench his arms around my rib cage and start to press his chest against my back and completely restrain me. And I couldn't move, I couldn't speak, and he would slowly squeeze. I was like an experiment. That's what I felt like, because he did it a lot. I felt like I was being experimented on, and he would know exactly when to release me. I would just start to black out, and he would let go. It was terrifying.
How often did you black out?
I would say at least once a month, maybe more, and that's went on for 30 years.
How many?
And I wanted to be 30, and I wanted to keep my family together. The police and my medical team knew about it, but I said I wanted to. If I love him enough, whatever his demons are that's causing him to do these things, if I give him a family and keep us together, he might work his way through it. It never happened, but that was my logic at the time.
Yeah, and it was that's why it's important, isn't it, for us to really get clear in our minds, all of us, what respect looks like and what danger looks like in a relationship.
Well, it's not that some people are great healers. They think they can make someone better. I thought I could make him better, but he had problems.
But that's part of understanding it. You don't hang around and make somebody better when they're harming you.
Well, that's what I thought. I could give him a home, we had a family. The boys all knew about it.
And was this always part of your relationship before you were married, during the marriage?
No, not at the right at the beginning.
Average speed camera zone.
When my children got
Speed limit
to the
is 50
age
miles per hour.
of 6, because he had a bad relationship with his mother when he was a little boy, and it seemed that it provoked him. He saw me being a mum and a loving mum, and it seemed to do something to him. And the hospital said that all his anger and frustration and fear that his mother put on him as a little boy,
landing on you.
He perceives it on me now. He was putting it on me.
And between these attacks, what did he ever refer to them? Did you ever say that hurts me? Did you ever say stop?
No, I didn't say, because, women, they tell me, I said, man, touch when I did something. I'd tell him, I'd punch him, I'd kick him, I'd bite, I'd scream. I didn't even say, why did you do that? I just thought, I don't know what's happening. His eyes would change. He would completely, his whole facial. It was like he would watch me. He would watch me slowly stop breathing, like he would hold my throat sometimes and just gently scream.
Gosh, Carol, I'm so sorry. That is.
Close to my eyes. And I did feel like I was in a petri dish and it was being was hate, it was fascination, and that was really frightening.
He got a kick out of it at one level.
Oh, he must, yeah. And then he'd be perfectly normal. He'd carry on normal.
And what was the tipping point that made you leave? Because you've obviously found the courage to do that.
Yeah, I did.
Average
But it took
speed
time
camera
to hold
zone.
out in court
Speed
because
limit
he
is
brought up
60
my
miles
mental
per
health
hour.
because I was suffering from trauma and stuff. He tried to use that against me, but the judge threw it out, threw everything out. Yeah, I found out that he kept something from me, something major in the family, and he knew about it. He didn't tell me, and it was regarding one of our sons. And at that point, I thought, that's it. I've had enough. But the boys had grown up. They'd all left home by then. So he couldn't handle them when they were young because they started to be in control. It was control and being in charge and having the last word. Once they got a little bit older and started to
They weren't going to tolerate that, no.
He couldn't handle it. But he directed them down because I was 4 boys. He directed it all into me.
Well, you know, power to you, Carol, for leaving, because after that length of time, sticking with it and hoping things would improve and you might help him to improve. I mean, you know, incredibly brave decision, and it's more than a decision, isn't it? It's a process to leave and to get out of that marriage, and you did it. So all power to you. Thank you so much for your call, Carol. And you know, the description of what Carol went through is really kind of why I gave that health warning at the top of the programme, and I reiterated that this is a very difficult subject to listen to people's stories about. So if you have experienced something or are experiencing something similar and find it too difficult to listen to, obviously that's why I'm giving this health warning in case you're just tuning in. Domestic violence is very common and incredibly charged, and the same if you don't want children to be in the room as well. We'll hear more about what the Justice Secretary, what the government is planning in a moment. I'll talk to Natasha Clark, LBC's political editor, and take more of your calls on 0345 606 0973. It's 2:31 now. Let's get some headlines from Amelia Cox.
An upcoming gig by a comedian is under review after an Israeli man says he turned a crowd against him. Paul Curry is yet to comment on claims he shouted verbal abuse at the man at Soho Theatre in London on Saturday. A second fertility clinic has been affected by a solution used to freeze eggs and embryos, which turned out to be faulty. There are fears that it may have been distributed to other services in the UK, but so far any patient affected has been contacted. And the FA has approved Sir Jim Ratcliffe's partial takeover of Manchester United. The British billionaire is now one step closer to having a 25% stake in the club. LBC weather: cloudy, mild and wet for many this afternoon, staying brighter and drier for the far north of Scotland. A few bright spells in central parts, a high of 14 degrees.
LBC.
First times, remember those? Like the thrill of being chased by waves for the first time. Now imagine the thrill of skimming through the fields on a high-speed rib on a Saga Ocean cruise. Or even the joy you'll feel with our Love It First Time guarantee. If you don't love all the incredible first times on your first Saga Ocean cruise, we'll give you your money back. Book your Saga Boutique cruise now. Experience is everything. Report must be made in first 72 hours or 48 hours if cruise is 7 nights or less. Full terms apply. Over 50s only.
All the big names are here. Ooh, who's that?
I think she was in the movie about that really big shark.
No, not her. The florist.
She's automating invoices on the go so she can spend more time on that flower wall.
QuickBooks can save you up to 8 hours a week, so you can bring your vision to life. That's how you business differently. Intuit QuickBooks.
Granny and Grandpa had their hearts set on getting Jess a drum kit for her birthday. And because they bought it on their Barclay card, they were rewarded too. It was music to their ears. Same can't be said for Mum and Dad. What you buy is your business. Rewarding you is ours. Search Barclay card to find out more about our range of rewards cards. Barclay card. Make money work for you. 28.9% APR representative variable. Subject to application, financial circumstances, and borrowing history. T's and C's apply.
Hey, love. I've had another clear out. You liked those vintage watches I found. Well, I've got cameras, lots of gold jewellery, and silverware too. Want them?
Mum, no thanks. Vintage Cash Cow can take them off of your hands. It's free to use and fully insured, and they'll offer you a fair price in just a few days.
Ooh, could I get those watches back?
Not a chance. Just go to vintagecashcow.co.uk.
Much like you, I've got a lot to complain about. Like open-toe sandals. Who thought that was a good idea? Who wants to look at toes? Adults who drink squash. Listen, you're a fully grown person. But I just got my Sky broadband and I've got no complaints.
Once again, Sky had the lowest number of complaints made to Ofcom for fixed-line broadband. To find out more, visit ofcom.org.uk. We're happy because you're happy.
Oh, hang on though. Noisy eaters. They're annoying.
Sky. Believe in better.
The next stop will be London.
I don't believe it.
What are you looking at?
The woman over there reading that book.
What about her?
What she's reading, it's indecent.
What's it called? I've probably read it.
You haven't.
See every detail, no matter how small. Choose from over 1,000 Boots and designer glasses and get your second pair half price. Book an eye test at Boots Opticians today and see what's possible. Includes prescription glasses.
Upset me.
The servants haven't been happy under Tim's regime. He takes no interest, has let things go and ruined his health with alcohol.
There's a boy who drank dregs straight from decanters. Oh, I've been thinking, perhaps we shouldn't live in this house with its 365 rooms.
A house swept of its demons is preferable to a house where they reign unrecognised. And in case I forget, I've let it be known I don't want to be called Countess. It doesn't suit me.
What an extraordinary day. All these poets. Hundreds of people. And here I am in the Hermitage, dressed appropriately in hermit's weeds and put here by Lord Tim to provide an aesthetic diversion and prevent unruly behaviour. Why? Not about. I need to share what I've written about John Clare's appearance, even if it's only with this shaving mirror. Oh, here goes. The Poetry Festival at Leighton Moor. When Tennyson read his eulogy to a friend who died young, the tears of the gentry rained down, but common people were less tender, some falling asleep on their feet. When it came to John Clare's turn to read, the well-heeled went to the rear to chat. Ploughmen, weavers, labourers moved to the front, where they crowded around Clare's feet. When he read his poem, he shook from head to toe, not with fear or age, but with a young man's rage. As he swayed on the platform, people rushed to hold him up. Waving them away, he cried, "Let me stand free." "Oh, let us all be free," his audience roared. Hearing this, monsters, sheriffs, squires shook more than Clare was shaking, but with fear, not age. Sad and terrible is the sound of the people's pain expressed in helpless, futile rage. When Clare, gathering his strength, spoke on, papers in his fist held no hint of tremor. Pride, regret, and fear burned in his eye as he recited what he already sensed was error.
We're out of the bush, Johnny. Give out a strike.
You're our man. You're our voice.
Oh, friends, if you'd only known the young man who wrote this poem I've been reading, how the world was, what his hopes were. Tell us, Johnny, come tell us. I'm finding it hard to read the end. Forgive me. Try to understand. Not steady on my pins. If I'm to do this, you'll have to hold me up. Does it take 10? 2 of you will do. Settle down. I'm steady now. This is how my poem finishes. Try to understand.
Johnny.
Try to follow what I'm saying. Listen to my words. Heaven shield thee, England, in thy ancient cause, from tyrant governments and broken laws. Since freedom came and crowned thee free, none dare as yet arouse thy lion from its lair. Threats have assailed thee, but as like the wind. They roar and bluster, but in vain. So barks the mastiff at his clanking chain. Nations and realms can never cope with thee, for they alone are mighty, who are free.
Mighty and free? What's he talking about?
What side were you on when you wrote that, Johnny?
We're not on ours by the side of it. Get back to the asylum! I've always been an Englishman first. Even to this day, I'm an Englishman first. It was a mistake to think you'd have the wit to understand. Damn you, fools! You're destroying your own kind.
He must have felt terrible.
No one really listened to what he was saying.
People thought he would be loyal to their vision of a different England.
Excuse our intrusion.
Please, my lord, come and join us.
How do you do, one and all?
Very well. Yes. Welcome to the Hermitage. This is Gregory and his wife Sarah.
Thank you. How hermily you've made this cold monument.
I'm told it's the first time it's had a hermit.
I know that's true. What were you discussing when we interrupted?
We were discussing what is loyalty.
Loyalty? To what? To whom? To dreams or visions? To friends? To family? To inheritance? Did you come to any conclusion?
Can you help us? What do you think?
Has anyone listened to the poetry reading today? Oh, yes. We listened to our friend John Clare. It all turned out rather sad and brutal for him, which was upsetting. The crowd turned against him and drove him away, saying he had betrayed them. But he's tough. He'll get over it. As for Professor Matthew Arnold, after everything he said against eulogies for unknown dead people, that's exactly what he gave us. There he was, standing up in front of hundreds of English working shepherds, giving out his poem about a dead Italian friend, as if the fellow had been a shepherd in classical times. He should be ashamed. How tactless. Our better educated minds don't have to be slaves to the Mediterranean. Some of our 16th century poets wrote about English shepherds as if they had value.
On this loyalty business, let me share this with you.